of a male with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Caller advised negative signs of life.
The male possibly committed suicide, still has the pistol in his hand.
Every year, nearly 45,000 people in America die by suicide. That's over double the number of homicides. In the last 20 years, suicide rates in most Western countries have fallen, but in the US, they've gone up by nearly a third. And there's one particular group of Americans causing the spike in numbers: white, middle-aged men.
While y'all truly know how I feel about mental health, right, and how I think the vast majority of it is complete and utter fucking bullshit, this fucking BBC documentary, it needed addressed, alright? It needed fucking addressed. There was no way I was gonna let this fucking bullshit slide without at least bare minimum me standing here making a fucking video and bitching about all the fucking retarded nonsense that this fucking dumb broad puts out to you. So without further ado, let's get the fuck into this. Alright, so since this is a news, you know what I'm saying, Tom Pease is gonna have to actually back up some real statistics and give you some real fucking numbers. There were 47,163 suicides, and white males accounted for 69% of them. Some people are saying 79%. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go with the lower number just because I don't like arguing with fucking retards going, well, this number says this. So I'm gonna give you the lower number, which accounts for 32,542 suicides out of 47,163 in the United States last year. Just wanted to put the shit on the motherfucking table before we get started so that everybody knows exactly what the fuck it is we're talking about.
I was gonna kill myself. I just said, dude, you're just a flunky in the machine and it's time to get the hell out.
The largely white state of Montana has the highest suicide rate in America, at double the national average.
Now, here's the truth. The truth is there was like maybe 300 suicides in Montana. The whole fucking state, all right, in the last year. The reason why it's so high is because there's just not that many fucking people who live in Montana. But I digress. Let's fucking continue on with the goddamn video.
I want to try and understand just why so many middle-aged white men are taking their own lives and what the impact of that is here.
Well, you know what I mean, according to this documentary on the fucking BBC that you're producing right now, I really don't think you want to understand shit. I don't think you're ready to look in the fucking mirror, you know what I'm saying? Because truly you want to understand the reasons why, you're gonna have to look in the goddamn mirror and go, maybe gynocentrism is fucking causing this, you know what I mean? But I don't think you're ready for that red pill yet. So let's continue.
There was another guy there, and I thought, can I catch up? How fast does a soul travel? Can I please catch up and be with him?
I've come to Flathead Lake in western Montana, where kids are gathering for a summer camp. But they're not here just for a holiday. This is a camp for grieving children.
Nice to meet you.
I'm gonna have to break this up because the BBC is fucking ridiculous about their copyrights, in case you ain't heard. And I mean, they passed Article 13 and 15 over there in fucking, you know what I mean, communist land over where not America is. So they're really strict about stuff. So you're gonna catch these things, you know what I mean, on a regular basis where there's not gonna be any information to put out. It's just, you know, I have to break up the video.
Tina Barrett is the director of the Tamarack Grief Resource Centre, which runs the 4-day event.
Kids come to this camp honoring different types of losses. The most common type of loss is suicide at our camp.
The
most common?
Yes.
So what are the numbers next? How many people are coming to the camp?
We'll have 50 campers here, okay, and 18 are grieving a death of a family member by suicide.
Yay! I'm so glad to see you guys.
I just wanted to point out, in a documentary about male suicide, we haven't really seen males yet. I think that's maybe something that, you know what I mean, you should probably include in your documentary. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't about women, but, you know, women are going to make it about themselves.
This is the third time that Jenny Laboon has brought her daughters Abby and Lily to stay here, and there's a reason why. People who lose someone to suicide are 3 times more likely to attempt it themselves.
So tell me what's going on here. What are you making?
We call them I think it's flags, you remember?
And whose one is this?
Lily's.
It's yours, Lily. Nice. Talk me through it. What have you got in here?
Okay, so I love fishing, the fishing boat.
And then who's Rick?
Our dad. That's my dad.
Yeah.
Whenever I was 17, I choose.
So I come here and I process everything here.
So kind of like a place where you can sort of focus.
Yeah, it's a place where everybody understands what they're going through. You don't have to explain it, you just kind of know.
See, what they're doing here is they're going, hey, you know, I mean, you shouldn't commit suicide because, you know, I mean, you're affecting other people around you. Well, we're not going to fix anything or make your lives any better or try to, you know, I mean, stop doing to you what we're doing to you. You know, I mean, but what we are going to do is we're going to stand here and show you that, you know, I mean, your actions, you know, I mean, to our fucking bullshit is harming, you know, I mean, the fucking people around you. You know, so it's kind of like the beatings will continue until morale improves. That's kind of where we are right now.
A lot of them that say dad.
What do you say to the girls when you're saying goodbye?
Be strong the way I know that you are. I love you. I'm here. Connect with everyone and heal.
$20 says, you know what I mean, 1 or 2 of those kids are not the dudes. You know what I'm saying? And he found out that because she looks like a sock. You know what I'm saying? Legit. I bet you fucking like she either A, tried to divorce him, B, she cheated on him, and then, you know what I mean, ended his motherfucking life. Because you know what, with a female like that and just a normal goddamn life and she's rocking with you, you're not gonna commit fucking suicide. Let's keep this all the way 100. You know what I mean? I bet you she fucking caused it, but we're not gonna address that right now. You know what I mean? We're not gonna address that at all.
White middle-aged men have the fastest growing suicide rate in the US. I want to get behind the statistics and find out more about one of these men, one of these dads. After Rick's death in Texas in 2014, Jenny came to Montana to build a new life. She remarried, and now there's a little baby brother for Lily and Abby.
4 years, right? So 2014, his documentary was made in 2018. It's a new little brother. He's about a year old, so that puts you back about 3 fucking years. Let's see here. So you waited about a year. No, you really didn't. I bet you were fucking a dude while you were with the man. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we're not going to address any of this shit at all. You know what I mean? We're not going to address any of it whatsoever fucking ever.
Really beautiful picture, isn't it? They look quite a lot younger.
Yes, they look different.
What was he like when you met him?
Well, he was teaching in the same high school that I was teaching. And I was like, ooh, who's that? You know?
Who's that chap?
Right. And we started having coffee and writing letters to one another. So we fell in love with letters. And to me, I think part of the reason I was so attracted to him because he was this really strong, powerful man, you know, but he was always a little emotionally standoffish.
Before they met, Rick had been in the army.
All right.
So blame the dead. You know what I'm saying? That's how this operates. We're going to stand here, you know what I mean, and shit about how the dead weren't emotionally available to you. Yeah, see, we're not going to say that you fucking, you know what I mean, try to divorce rape him while he was alive. We're not going to say that at all. You know what I mean? What we're going to say is that, you know what I mean, he just died, and that's, you know what I mean, the end of the fucking conversation. Oh, and by the way, I said that kid's 1. Yo, no, that kid looks to be about 4 or 5 fucking years old, so he died legitimately, like, you know, before that motherfucking kid was born, or after that kid was goddamn born. You know what I mean? Let's put that shit on the motherfucking table. So you weren't with the dude, you know what I mean, when he motherfucking died. Let's keep that straight.
He joined straight out of high school and within months was deployed to a frontline hospital during the First Gulf War. He returned to build a life which looked happy and successful, but under the surface, Rick was struggling.
I came home and I noticed he was off. I reassured him, I held him, and I'm so glad I did. The next morning, he dropped Lily off at school, and later Lily would tell me that he looked at her with really sad eyes and then walked away from her. So that's hard. He went back to the house. He called the sheriff and said, this is what I'm about to do, and walked out the door, took the gun with him, and took his own life.
By the way, man, I thought this was about suicide in Montana. That nigga killed himself in motherfucking Texas. Like, can we get some fucking consistency or some reality out of this documentary by chance?
He sent me a text, said, I love you so very much. And I know by the time of death that he sent me that text is the very last thing that he did. So I went to the house and I ran into the closet and I saw the safe open where the guns were, and I couldn't believe it. And I thought there was another gun there, and I thought, can I catch up? How fast does a soul travel? Can I please catch up and be with him?
We're still not addressing male suicide.
I cannot imagine, like, how that day must have been.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Well, unfortunately with suicide, everybody goes back to that day or the few days before and says, what could I have done? I think, my goodness, I would have, if I had any idea what he was going to do, I would not have gone to work. I would have lost my job. I would have done anything to keep him from doing that.
Did y'all catch that? That broad said I would have done anything to keep him from doing that to me. Man, the nerve of these fucking broads.
Back at the grief camp, the girls are able to relax and have some fun.
A bit of a brain. It really does. Not on my phone. Ew.
What does the camp mean to you?
It's just kind of like a place to come to express yourself, be yourself, and accept yourself.
Part of learning to deal with grief involves the girls thinking about their dad and how they want to remember him.
What was he like as a dad?
He was the best dad, to answer your question.
Yeah?
Yeah. He was stern, but he was still fun and kind and just like a best friend. To me, at least.
When you found out that your dad had taken his life, can you remember?
Yeah.
Like the first
I just said okay. I just kind of walked out.
You walked out?
Yep.
I had a different reaction. For me, it just kind of felt like I was being like stabbed repeatedly in my stomach and my heart. The pain that you really just can't describe, that you don't feel twice.
Solipsism, solipsism, solipsism. You know what I mean? Like, yo, again, the beatings will continue until fucking morale improves.
I'm still mad at him. And my grandma's up there. He's
with his booty.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Wherever they are. He's in for it from my grandma.
Why are you mad at him?
Because he left.
Yeah, we're like 12 minutes into this bitch and we still have not addressed male fucking suicide in any way, shape, or form.
In the last 20 years, suicide rates for white middle-aged men have skyrocketed, whilst those for black and Asian Americans haven't changed much. Just south of the camp is the largely white county of Missoula, where there has been a 50% increase in suicides in the last 5 years. I came to Missoula's biggest event, the county fair, to try to understand the pressures that men are facing here.
First number is B4.
Do you think it's getting harder for men?
It's getting harder to make the money. to provide for your family.
What does it mean as a man if you're not able to provide for that family?
It just feels like I failed. I failed my wife, I failed my kid.
Give these guys a big round of applause.
Holy shit, we got a dude and we're addressing some remote dude issues. God damn. Now, let me say, with the stagnation of wages and the increased cost of fucking living and housing in the United States of America, it is legitimately getting harder to survive as a fucking man inside of this fucking country. And that does account for a lot of things. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't account for as much as you would think it would. Let's keep going.
Wise.
Guys talk to each other about their problems.
No.
No?
In general, no.
No? Okay.
At least none of the guys that I know.
All right, now we're getting into the meat and fucking potatoes of this here. All right, so why don't guys talk to each other? I wonder why that is. Could it be because every time a dude stands here and talks to other motherfucking dudes about their issues, their woman, for some reason, calls them a homosexual? Could it be that, you know, they've destroyed all the fucking clubs in America? Fucking like the Moose, Masons, you know, fucking bowling leagues. Any place where dudes tended to get together with other dudes. And a lot of times, legitimately, that's where you express your fucking problems to other guys. You're like, man, look, I can't fucking deal, man. You know what I mean? See the tears in the eyes all fucked up, and your homie, he'd stand there and put an arm around you and be like, man, look, let's talk about this. Let's figure out a goddamn plan and get you to where you need to be at. You know what I mean? And this was the support structure for fucking men. And what do? Every time men talk to other men about men's shit, instead of talking to their wife, they get called a fucking homosexual. So, I wonder why. You know what I'm saying? There's no support structures for men in the United States or most of Western civilization anymore. It's a Scooby-Doo goddamn mystery.
I met up with Mayor John Engen, who was born and raised in the county.
Today, Missoula, Montana is much different from it was when I was born in 1964. We manufactured and depended on the timber industry. That industry was largely a man's world. It's truck driving, it's logging, it's equipment operation. If you're a person of my generation, much of your identity is wrapped up in what you do. What's the first thing you ask a stranger in a social situation? What do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
So for a very long time, the answer might have been, I'm a logger, which meant you put in a solid day of work for a reasonable wage.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you provided for your family, you created a product. When I ask people what they do in Missoula, the answers are far more complex than they used to be. I'm between jobs. I don't do anything right now. But this is what I was. It's what I was, right? And in a world where you grow up with that label, and that label is important, and suddenly somebody tears the tag off. Who are you?
Well, this has to do with the socioeconomic problems of shipping all of our fucking manufacturing off to, you know, I mean, third-party work countries like China, or India, Malaysia, Tibet, wherever the fuck it goes. And, you know, tends to be what happens. Individuals end up out of work, you know. Just fact of fucking life.
But this isn't just a Rust Belt town in decline. Missoula's economy is thriving. But the old jobs are disappearing, and many white working class men are feeling left behind.
The folks you see here today, a lot of them are going to be from places where what was the traditional Western lifestyle is still very much alive to them. That sense of self-sufficiency, and that you ought not rely on really anybody but yourself. And as boys were taught from a very young age, man up, toughen up, you don't cry. Well, when problems compile to a point that you can't shake it off, and there's no way in hell that you're going to have a conversation with another adult human being about how miserable you are, your options start to narrow considerably.
Well, again, we get back to why is that the fact that we don't have anybody to fucking talk to. You know what I'm saying? And why aren't we addressing the fucking 800-pound gorilla in the goddamn room, which is fucking divorce, which is the #1 cause of goddamn suicide among all fucking men? Why aren't we addressing that?
It's hard not to see a connection between the distress felt by so many of these men and the challenges of adjusting to a changing world.
White guys have had it pretty good for a long time, but some of the edges are being nipped at. If I'm not the boss, who am I? If my boss is a woman, what does that mean for me? If my boss is a Muslim woman, what does that mean for me? That's not the way I grew up. None of that was the way it was.
So we're just gonna say every man's a fucking chauvinist pig. Is that where you're going with this? Chauvinism is causing the fucking suicide. That's the problem. That's really where the fuck it's at. It's the fact that, you know what I'm saying, you have a woman boss. That's why, like, oh my God, females in charge. There's a Muslim in charge. I'm just gonna shoot myself in the motherfucking head. Are you really fucking sure that's why? I feel like you're full of shit right now. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this was a much longer conversation that you chopped up and then put this on here because you don't want to address the gorilla in the room, which is the fact that dudes who are fucking divorced or dudes who are divorced are 9.4 times as likely to kill themselves as anybody else in the goddamn population. But we don't want to have that conversation, do we?
Right?
The Missoula police are on the front line of this crisis, and the number of mental health and suicidal call-outs has doubled in 3 years. Christine Cameron is a patrol officer with the force. Within seconds of being in the patrol car, a suicide-related call comes through.
This is a request for a welfare check. Caller lives with a male at this address. Has a history of depression and has written suicidal notes in the past. No reason.
Okay, so first off, this is not how police radios work. All right, when they call in some shit, they go, you know, fucking, we need a welfare check at this address. And I mean, fucking white male, fucking so many years old, you know, fucking, and then, you know, I mean, fucking a car will respond to it. They'll go, okay, you know, 10-4, this is da-da-da-da, right? And then they go, all right, you know, da-da-da-da, here's the details. You know, I mean, we need to fucking tell you about all this shit, right? And I mean, usually the police officer has to ask dispatch about all these type of things. And usually they don't have most of this information on fucking hand. All right? There ain't no fucking, you know what I mean, reality about this. So, with that being said, all right, legitimately, with that being said, this is complete bullshit. All right? I just want to put this out there that this here is complete and utter fucking bullshit.
Hi, copy. Thank you. It draws a lot of our resources. We're responding to this right now. 2 officers, you know, there could be crimes going on that we're not able to respond to because we're handling these types of calls. Okay, so we're pulling into the complex now. Yeah, 341 units are in 97 area. How's it going, bud? You don't need any assistance or anything from us. No thoughts about harming yourself or anything like that. If you need anything from us, anytime, 911, okay?
Is he okay?
I find it like impeccably ridiculous how like legitimately we are not like actually discussing reasoning behind why any of these individuals are doing what the fuck it is they're doing.
Hey?
He is. Yeah, we made contact with him.
Okay.
He works a graveyard shift, so he was just sleeping.
Okay. So this is the 3rd suicide-related call today for the force?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. One was a person that was at a residence kind of in their front yard holding a handgun to their head.
Oh my gosh, in their front yard?
Yeah, so another individual went into one of the local sporting goods stores.
I'm gonna say it like this. I don't even think that's a real cop, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that dude may be a fucking actor. Like, just my opinion, you know what I mean? But like, he doesn't look cop-like to me. But, you know, hey, whatever. Like, yo, we can play pretend all you want to.
And was attempting to take a firearm in order to try to harm himself.
And that's the thing that gets mentioned again and again. Guns. They are the most common method of suicide for American men, and there are a lot of them in Montana.
Here we go, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, British person telling American people about, you know what I mean, fucking guns. Lady, you can eat a dick. You do not know anything about the fucking gun culture in goddamn America. And if it wasn't guns, motherfuckers would just hang themselves. And I think that's a number 2 way of fucking suicide, is hanging. And then there's, you know what I mean, stabbing yourself by cutting your wrists. You know, there's other ways to get it done. You know, remember, it's, you know what I'm saying, down the road, not across the street.
The men here are killing themselves with firearms at a rate far higher than the national average. In Missoula, people in suicidal crisis are brought to St. Patrick's Hospital, which is coming under increasing pressure.
Hey, it's Brooks.
Brooks.
I didn't know Missoula had shitty neighborhoods. You know, I mean, that's a little fucking white ghetto right there. Like, what, man? Your motherfuckers somehow got like 10 or 12 Mexicans together and they all live in the same goddamn neighborhood? How the fuck did you manage that shit?
Is a mental health professional here.
He's such a busy man.
You know, that's just the way this job goes. It's just a lot of chaos.
So you work a straight through 48-hour shift?
Yeah, I'm covering the emergency department for a 48-hour stretch.
And how many people would you see in your shift?
20 is probably average. So if I see 20 people in 48 hours, 12, 13, you know, or 14-ish are going to be suicidal.
And what are you seeing? Is it getting worse?
Oh, it's getting, I think, much worse.
Missoula, a city of like 50,000 people, you see 20 individuals in fucking 2 goddamn days. Let me be honest with you, that's not that fucking bad. You know what I mean? Legit. But, you know, by all means, let's continue bullshitting ourselves and acting like this is a fucking actual goddamn problem.
Just in the time I've been working in this hospital, I think our numbers are coming up 20 or 30% per year.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, noticeable.
But despite the growing need, this year Montana has seen huge cuts to its mental health budget.
I think the mental health cuts are having a pretty big impact. If there were stronger outpatient services, probably 30% of what I'm seeing lately I wouldn't see because they have nowhere else to turn. Yeah.
I've actually seen this firsthand in like real life, and I mean among actual fucking people, where people with like schizophrenia and real actual medical conditions have legitimately nowhere to go. You know what I mean? And they don't get their fucking medication, they don't get fucking treatment for stuff because there's no money in the budget for it, and they end up like being goddamn criminals because they're self-medicating with heroin or fucking Adderall, whatever, and they get pinched and they drink a lot. Like, this is something that's been happening all across the country for a long goddamn time. And it's been happening ever since, you know, I mean, we closed down the mental institutions in this fucking bitch back in like, I think the 50s and 60s, you know what I mean, 70s, something like that. And this is where you get all the people in San Francisco pooping all over the streets.
This place is gonna get busy. It's gonna go wild for hours. I won't be too long.
Across America, many men turn to substances to try to cope with their distress. In Montana, those who go on to end their life are twice as likely as other Americans to have alcohol in their system. A few hours later, I caught up with Brooks to talk more about this.
We do love alcohol here. You throw alcohol at any suicidal individual and you've exponentially increased the risk. Literally, loneliness and alcohol. Honestly, I just talked to so many men who just talk about this crushing loneliness. You know, loneliness literally hurts. The brain reads loneliness like physical pain.
All right, this is from the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health, the BMJ Journal's letter, Divorce and Suicide Risk, from A.J. Capasoa, I guess it is, right? Authors affiliations, okay? So, let's see here. This here says there's an accumulating evidence that divorced and separated people have much higher suicide rates than their married counterparts in a previous paper published in this journal. It is observed that divorced and separated men were nearly 2.4 times more likely to kill themselves than married counterparts. That study, however, failed to directly compare divorced men and women. While it informed us that divorced people are at higher risk for suicide than a married, it said nothing about the suicide risk of divorced men relative to divorced women. The purpose of this communication is to assess the magnitude of the differentials in suicide risk between the two groups and explore possible reasons that might explain the disparities. Data obtained from the U.S. National Longitudinal Mortality Study, 1979-1989, and its covariates were usually taken from CASOBA. The response variable risk of suicide analysis were restricted to divorced and separated non-Hispanic white men and women. Proportional hazards regression models were fitted to the data, and relevant result in Table 1. All right, Model 1 presents the age-adjusted effects of sex on the risk of suicide. Divorced men were over 8 times more likely to commit suicide than divorced women after taking into account other factors that have been reported to contribute to suicide. Divorced men still experience much increased risk of suicide than divorced women. They were nearly 9.7 times more likely to kill themselves than comparable divorced women. Put in another way, for every divorced woman that committed suicide, over 9 divorced men killed themselves. Yeah, right? And here's another one. Some analysis argue that the research community has ignored a plausible explanation for the excess suicide risks experienced by divorced men. As Perrault and Farrell observed, the social, psychological, and even personal problems facing women are readily denounced. Societal institutions tend to ignore or minimize male problems as evident in suicide statistics. For instance, in many jurisdictions in the U.S., there seems to be an implicit assumption that the bond between a woman and her children is stronger than that between a man and his children. As a consequence, in a divorce settlement, custody of children is more likely to be given to the wife in the end. The father not only loses his marriage, but his children. As a result may be the anger at the court system, especially in situations where the husband feels betrayed because it was his wife that initiated the divorce, or because the courts virtually gave away everything that was previously owned by the ex-husband or the now defunct household to the former wife. Events could spiral into resentment towards the spouse and the system, bitterness, anxiety, and depression, reduced self-esteem, and a sense of life not worth living. As depression and poor mental health are known markers of suicide risk, it might be well that one of the fundamental reasons for the observed association between divorce and suicide men and the impact of post-divorce court-sanctioned arrangements. Clearly, this is an issue that needs further investigation. And the truth shall set you free.
All they know is, to them, this pain is unbearable.
And along with alcohol and loneliness, there's another factor. Montana has the fastest growing income inequality in the country, and it's in the poorest communities that more and more people are taking their lives.
The more disparity between the haves and the have-nots, the higher the suicide rate.
So we also need socialism. You know what I'm saying? That's the goddamn problem. We need fucking socialism. That's where we're at right now. You're gonna bring up income inequality as part of this fucking factor. Well, could it be the fact that you're, taking half of men's shit and then causing them to be fucking wage slaves for the next 18 goddamn years? Could that possibly be the fucking problem? Another Scooby-Doo mystery.
If you're rubbing shoulders, like in Montana you do, if you're rubbing shoulders with the wealthy, and you are not wealthy, it makes us white middle-aged males feel inadequate, and we're a burden on people, and we're not producing, and the more highlighted it is that I'm a have-not, the more I want to end my life.
This dude's a doctor in a major fucking hospital. He pulls down easy 6 figures a goddamn year. How the fuck would he goddamn know?
Since arriving in Montana, I've wanted to talk to one of these white middle-aged men who have tried to take their own lives. But there's a lot of stigma around suicide, and it's hard to get anyone to talk. Then right at the end of my visit, I get a clue.
As soon as I left work, I was gonna kill myself.
So you couldn't, go to like a group, where individuals trying to commit suicide went to maybe have a conversation with somebody and ask why? Legit, there's no fucking suicide advocates you could talk to, who could have helped direct you in the proper way of doing things. You had no way of talking to nobody, no way to reach out to anybody. You couldn't, put out a fucking Craigslist ad and hey man, if you try to commit suicide, I'd like to have a conversation with you to figure out why, because we're doing a documentary. We'll offer you $20 to come over here and have a conversation with us. No, you couldn't do that? Gotcha.
I just said, dude, you've got nothing to show for all your efforts. You're just a flunky in the machine, and it's time to get the hell out.
Go.
Russell is 63 and has lived in his family home for the last 40 years. He's suffered with depression for decades. A few years ago, he was determined to take his own life.
I just ran in here and I took the shotgun out, and then I looked at the dog and said, what am I going to do with the dog? And then
I want you to look around for any signs that a goddamn woman lives there. All right? In this piece of the video, just look around and see if you see any signs that a fucking female lives inside of this goddamn household. Because the truth of the matter is, he tried to kill himself after his fucking wife left him. That's the reality of it. He had everything goddamn taken from him, including his wife and his fucking kids. And he decided that he wanted to fucking kill himself.
I started putting another shell in the shotgun, because I thought I'd have to shoot her too. And she gave me this look that just said, "What's going on?" And I just said, "I can't do this. I can't do this."
What was going on in your life, Russell, that made you feel like you wanted to take your life?
I mean, at the time I was alone.
Alone?
It was just me living here and one dog. And loneliness can be kind of a terrible taskmaster. This is a tough country to live in. I mean, if you're not a competitive person, and I'm not, it's not easy. The Americans like a winner. They don't like people who aren't winners. All our lives we're given this.
See the color picture of the motherfucking kids? Yeah, those is his fucking grandkids. See the picture of the fucking dude and his fucking wife standing there on their wedding day? That's him and his fucking wife. Let's be real about something. He got fucking divorce raped, lost his fucking family, and decided that he was gonna try and take his own goddamn life. And this bitch done cut that shit the fuck out of the motherfucking video. Why? Because that would mean that females have something to do with it, and they have some responsibility to bear. And we can't have that. We can't have that conversation. We can't talk about that. The fact that females' equality is causing distress upon our society. Why would we ever talk about that?
False notion of American superiority, that we're supposed to be superhuman. You know, I'm Superman, I'm Clark Kent. I'll rip off my shirt and I'm gonna have a cape and an S plastered on my chest and I'm gonna save the free world. And of course we aren't going to. Most of us are just people like me. I think that a lot of people in Montana they reach that same level of panic because they don't make enough money. There's a level of terror among people as they work longer and they fall farther and farther and farther behind.
I've noticed.
Yo, look, all fucking problems inside of a goddamn country are usually based back on some economic shit. You know what I mean? But let's be real here. You know what I mean? Fucking like, yo, when you're paying alimony and child support to a fucking broad, it tends to end up impoverishing you. Just how the hell shit operates.
You have a tattoo on your arm. What's this for?
When you end a sentence with a semicolon, you're basically saying, okay, that's not really the end of the sentence. There's more to come after that.
Thank you so much.
This is my way of saying there's more to come after this to my life.
And thank you for sharing it.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm not just going to give.
His name was Robert Paulson.
Give in. I'm not going to give up.
Back at the grief camp at Flathead Lake, things are drawing to a close. There is no single reason for the growing suicide crisis amongst white middle-aged men in America.
Well, you know what I mean, the truth of the matter is it's women voting and women rights, but you know what I mean, you don't want to have that conversation. That's really what's causing it all together. It's what's causing the whole downfall of Western civilization, to be truthful with you. But, you know, by all means, you know what I mean, let's continue on pretending that, you know what I mean, fucking we need more socialism and less guns, and you know what I mean, the problems aren't actually that, you know, your women are fucking destroying your goddamn civilization. Let's not have that conversation. This is Tom Pease with Pinoid News. Y'all know the motherfucking drill. Peace.